Okay, so let's get started with some general questions then.
Yeah, I have some. I don't know how general they are. It's about writing my math test and maybe some just assessment. I know you've done testing and I couldn't go, but or actually there's one today on assessment. But anyways, I'm working on a test in Canvas, so I'd love to get help on that.
Surely.
Should I go now? Or should
yeah, let me pull up Canvas here.
Okay.
Because this is something I'm sure that will be of interest to other folks as well. Okay, here we are in a sandbox Canvas course. What questions do you have about testing?
Okay, so should I share my screen and tell you what I'm asking, to show you what I'm asking?
Sure, let me kill my share and let you do that. Let me make sure I've got that enabled, just a second.
Okay.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead and share.
Okay, so I already issued a test for my Math 96, and what I wanted to do, because I haven't written that many tests in Canvas, I tried to just like go to the Commons and pull ones that were somewhat aligned with content and everything.
Gotcha.
It was I made a group. Oh, the other thing is that in vetting other quizzes, I couldn't, when I was working with them just in the quizzes section, I couldn't group them according to how I wanted, and so
no, you can't.
But under assignments, you might have helped me with that. I made it, if I look at them under assignments, I was able to say, okay, these are the ones I want for my 96 test too, and then these are the ones that I would like for my Math 116. So I was able to shuffle them a little better. So this is the test I gave for 96, and then it dropped their lowest, which I like. But I'm working on a test wrap, and I'm having a hard time with a few aspects of that.
Okay.
I also surprised by how difficult it was to actually assign. This is on my sandbox class. So then to actually bring this into my Math 96 class, it wasn't very easy to assign it. So I ended up having to, I'll show you what I did. Is there a way to switch courses, by the way, from up here?
Not really. You pretty much have to go back to your dashboard.
Okay, so then in order to do it, and that's the thing is like I had worked with Todd on the group of quizzes, but then when it came time to assign it, it was a lot more difficult than I thought. So I had to, and I was on the weekend by myself. So I had to make a whole new thing in order to be able to have any text and any instructions with it. I had to make a module and a page, and then I had to screenshot it so they would know these were the order, because if any of them had questions about a specific one, I wanted them to see that these were the ones that came first, and then, I mean, they could do them in that order. And then on the next page, I had to embed the links. So I feel like there's got to be a better way. So yeah, my next page in this module is this one where I have all these links. But I feel like there has to be a better way to actually take it from the repository course and assign it. In addition to the fact that like this time, I'm going to assign different versions of like some of these. I'm creating test gen QTI things, and because there's more cheating in my my other class, I'm using test gen to create some of these quizzes and to create different versions, unless you have another suggestion. So then I'd have to upload the QTI for each of the different versions and then create that as a quiz. Is that correct?
I'm just trying to get a sense here of what you're trying to do. For individual tests, of course, you can put test instructions in the instructions window when you edit the test in the test details tab. And you have the full rich content editor there. Yeah. In terms of information that describes the group of tests and how you want them to be dealt with by the students and so on, creating a Canvas page for that, as you've done, is probably a very good solution. I can't think of a better way to do it right offhand. And you've got a group of tests here I see in your test 2 module that you're going to drop the lowest one of, so that's Very good. If you're going to drop the lowest grade in a series of assessments, those assessments all have to be part of the same assignment group, which I do believe you have done, though I'd have to check the, yeah, you showed me that in the assignments tool. You had grouped those in an assignment group in the assignments tool. So that's exactly what you'd have to do. You can create multiple versions of a test at need and assign that to different students or groups of students using the assignment blocks in the test edit, the test details page. Yeah, just go into it. If you go into a test there, any one of them, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd love to do that with one of them. I'm gonna just say maybe this one.
Great.
If we could practice, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And edit.
Uh-huh.
And in the course details page,
Yeah, I
or the
saw.
course details block down further, where it
Yeah,
says assign.
yeah.
All right. You can assign this to particular students.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily get the list, your full list of students when you click on that box.
Oh,
So what you have to do to get individual students sometimes is type the first few letters of their last name,
okay.
and it will pop up. You have to search for them. It won't, in a large class with 20 or 30 people in it, it will not list all of them. And that when you click on that assign to box in the test, you have to search for them individually. It's a little bit of a pain.
Okay.
But,
I'm gonna try it if you don't mind with this one. Maybe like just because this was a class that has more students in it.
Okay. Drop down to your assign to box.
Yeah.
And there you see some of your students, but not all of them.
Oh, that's interesting. So then, because I was actually thinking of who would get which version would be based upon every third according to the alphabet. But what's the schema here? Do you have any idea?
It's just not going to show them all to you. This is a limitation in Canvas, apparently, that I wasn't aware of either, because I'd been working with small test courses that had half a dozen students in there. So if you want to, yeah, there you go.
Sabahleyin giriş yapmak istedim.
I see. So I would have to maybe
Çalışma. Nasıl kredi veriyorlar da.
Okay.
Hadi dedim ona giriş yapayım. Password yok. Password verdi. Ben bulamadım. Ondan sonra yazdım da password'ı yollamışlar. Hadi dedim.
Okay, I just muted everyone. We're getting enough people in now that we're going to have a little sound discipline on that. Allison, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, thanks. I just did, but I didn't want to speak unless. Okay.
So yeah, you can certainly do that. You can assign different groups of students to different versions of the same test at need.
Will I have record of who got which version?
You'd have to go back and go to the details screen for the test to see that, and it will list.
Oh, right. Okay. Thanks. And then
that's the only way I can. I'm sure that you can see it anyway.
Okay. And then the different versions you're saying would have to be uploaded as QTIs for each different version, right? There's no way to change them within here.
No, what you need would be a way to duplicate the test, and I can't think of a way to do that right offhand. So yeah, probably so. You'd probably have to upload them or create them separately or upload them separately, one of the two.
Okay. And then
I'll think about that. There may be some way to shortcut that, but it doesn't, I can't think of it right off the bat.
Okay.
Think of a way to do that. You don't have like a duplicate test button.
I mean, I can copy these. I've been able to copy these quizzes and such,
Oh,
but
that's right. You can copy them, can't
yeah,
you?
but
In the context menus on the side. Okay, that would do
the
it.
dots, I copy them, but the questions have all been generated. I can't, like, these aren't quizzes I made, so I don't even know how to like change them. But I can, because typing math can be quite challenging in here and dealing with that. So, and then creating new answers. So, so I'm just thinking I'll
I tell you what, this is probably something we're going to need to take offline, and
Okay.
because this is going to require a little bit more tinkering than we have a chance for right now.
I understand.
But just wanted to get you
on
the path here.
Okay, wonderful.
And I'll be happy to work with you later on that.
Can I ask a quick follow-up on this?
Pardon?
Can I ask a quick follow-up before we?
Of
You
course.
said work with me later. I don't want to take your time later.
Well, no. Go ahead and ask a follow-up on this, because again, some of this are something that the other people are going to be interested in too.
I think this pertains to all disciplines, is just being able to, right now my questions are multiple choice and graded by Canvas, but
Right.
I want to have them practice uploading, and I want to be able to grade via Canvas Grader, especially the one on my phone. So
Right.
I'm creating a test wrap in general, just because I always like to. So the question at the end is just to have them upload something, and then the file types that are going to make it most amenable with Canvas grading on the phone, are those the JPEG, the PDF, the PNG, or is it just PDF?
PDFs are safer.
Okay, so just go PDF. Okay, that's what I'm gonna have.
Because you can mark those up in the markup tool.
Okay.
But any of them will work.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet.
And great job handling the snafu.
Well, we've got a bunch of people here. That's wonderful. And thanks to Mary for getting the word out. Okay, Allison, if you wouldn't mind, thank you. Giving me back the share. I appreciate it. All right, we are up to 19 people. Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and talk about, because we were scheduled this morning to talk about communication in Canvas. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. It is, fortunately, one of the shorter ones that we do in terms of the time required, so we'll be able to do that, and then I can start taking more general questions again. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And here we are in just a generic Canvas sandbox course that I've been using for our illustration. And the communication tools are about the same in all of them, so we'll take a look at that. Let me show you what the broad outlines, what we're going to do today are. The communication tools in Canvas primarily are the announcements, the discussion forums, the inbox, and real-time communication tools like we're using right now, Zoom. So we'll take a look at each of those. They're fairly easy, simple, and very reliable, so they're extremely powerful. You can really communicate well with your students in Canvas, quite beyond the course content that you post in your modules and the assessments that you post for them there and so on. But back and forth communication is very efficient in Canvas. The first tool we'll talk about are the announcements, and those are very straightforward, very comparable to what we used to have in Blackboard. It's a message that you can send that the entire class can see, that doesn't require you to send a blast email and fill students' email boxes with routine announcements. The announcements tool is always in your course menu, unless you've hidden it for some reason, which seems unlikely. And the students can access the announcements through there, as can you. And you, unlike they, can add an announcement, clicking on the Add Announcement button in the upper right there. Give it a title. Common use of announcements is to announce a synchronous meeting in the class at a particular date or time. This is what I would have sent out this morning if everybody had been in the Canvas course with me. We'll meet in Zoom at 9 a.m. We're almost at 10 a.m. now. Here's the Zoom link. And you get that. I can't believe they disabled my personal meeting room link this morning. Sorry. And then we can, don't worry, anytime you see a mention in Canvas of sections, just ignore it. Canvas is referring to virtual sections that can be created within your own course shell. We don't use those. Our process for populating you and your students into the various Canvas shells that are created each semester won't allow that. So whenever you see something like, see a mention like this to sections, just ignore it. This announcement will be available to everyone in this course shell, and only this course shell. You can attach a file to an announcement. So if you're sending out a handout that you want people to have as quickly as possible, you can attach it to an announcement. There's generally not much use for these options, unless perhaps you want to delay posting an announcement. You want to set up a number of announcements right now, but have them posted at a certain date and time automatically without you having to remember to do it. That could be useful. Allowing users to comment on your announcements. I don't know, this is not Facebook, for God's sake. I don't know. That's available to you if you want. And liking, same thing. Canvas is trying to be Facebook here, and we got more than enough of that already. But anyway, once you create the announcement, you just save it. And now it becomes available to everyone in the course. They can access it by clicking on the announcements button, and there it is. The most recent announcement will be listed at the top. And if you have your course settings set appropriately, let me find one here that has that set up. By default, when the students enter the course, they'll see the 3 most recent announcements at the top of the screen. So this gives them a bit of a spur and eliminates them having to check the announcements tool to see these at least, because you can't always assume that the student will click on announcements every time they go into the course. It's hard to know. But generally, that is the way it works. The students may receive an email when you post an announcement. but you can't control that. That is determined by their notification settings, which you can't set for them. Notification settings can be found under the Account button in the Zoom System menu. It's the top option in that menu, Notifications. And there are a wide variety of events in Canvas that can generate a notification being sent to a user, either a faculty member or a student. And one of them, of course, is announcement. When a new announcement is put in the course, the student can be notified, but they have to ask for that to happen by selecting that announcement or selecting that notification option, as opposed to not getting it. The default, I believe, is to have an email sent when an announcement is placed in the course, but you can't depend on that because the students may have changed that and they have every access to do that. So just be aware that just because you post an announcement in your course doesn't necessarily mean that all of your students will get an email saying that an announcement has been posted. So that's pretty much it for announcements. They're very useful tools. The students can see them if they, for certain, if they click on the announcements button. But you can't be absolutely certain they'll do that. So that is a weakness in that. A surer way to communicate with your students is through your inbox tool. And that's just about as easy to use as the announcement. It is an end-to-end messaging system. It's one of the best features of Canvas, I think, because it's got all of the best features of the multiple messaging tools we had in Blackboard, and very few of the relatively few of the vices, the deficiencies that we saw in Blackboard. It's a combination of an internal and an external messaging system. When you send a message to a student through the inbox tool in Canvas, that message will go to the student's Canvas inbox, and they'll see it in their inbox just as I'm seeing my received messages here. But it will also automatically be forwarded on to the email address that they have registered with their Canvas account, which is automatically set to the email address that they have provided to the district. A little more about that in a minute. There is a vulnerability there, but it's likely to be up to date, much more likely than we used to have in Blackboard. So the student receives the message both in their Canvas inbox and in their personal inbox, external inbox. They can read it there, they can reply to it, and the reply will go back, assuming you sent the message, the reply will come back to your Canvas inbox, but then it will also be sent through to your personal email box, which is the one that, or to the one that is registered with your Canvas account. So it's an end-to-end system. It can go all the way from your personal, all the way from Canvas to the student's personal inbox and all the way back to yours in the case of a reply. So the chances of someone not noticing that message are much reduced because they see it both in Canvas and in their personal email. Other than that, this is fairly comparable to any messaging or email system that you've ever seen, though again, it is both internal and external. The internal part of it is 100% reliable. If you send a message from your inbox to a student's inbox tool in Canvas, it will get there, 100%. Never seen it fail. There are things that can happen to emails that go out onto the internet, of course. They can end up in the student's spam folder. They can be blocked by internet service providers who have who are having issues with Canvas. Or the student may just not have updated their email address with the district, and the email may be going to an account they're not using anymore. Though that's happening less now than it used to. But within Canvas, this is 100% reliable. And you have a record of you having sent it, because you have a sent mail folder, just like the one you have in Outlook. And you will be able to see everything that you have sent. And of course, everything you received. So there'll be a permanent record of the communication, which can be very useful. I'm not telling you anything. It can be very useful at times.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm all confused. You said, let's say I'm gonna send a Zoom meeting to my students. So
An announcement of it, yeah.
in the announcement. So should I send it? So you said, that's how I understood. If I send it from my email, will it go to Canvas also, or should I send it from Canvas? It will
No, you
also
should
go
send
to
it.
my-
If you send it from Canvas, it will go both to the student's Canvas inbox and to their personal inbox.
And mine too.
And you'll have a record of it that you sent it, yes.
In my personal email also?
No, it will be in your sent folder in
In
Canvas.
Canvas. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
You bet. No, that's great. Questions in context like that, please just unmute yourself and ask, because that generally improves the presentation.
Oh,
Sometimes it has parts.
I have a quick question about that, about messaging.
Good. Good.
There are oftentimes, I know from the Gradebook, you can email a list of students or something who are missing assignments, but is it
Right.
possible to click on an individual's name and send them an email without having to go back to my inbox? Just one individual?
That's a good question. I believe those tools only give you the option to select groups of students that meet a certain criterion.
Yeah, that's all I've been able to.
Oh, no. Excuse me.
Yay.
I'm incorrect. Just a second. That's a communication question. Let's take that right now. And it relates, because those messaging tools in the Gradebook use this inbox tool behind the scenes. So let's go to that part of the course, to the Gradebook.
Yeah.
You can message individual students from your Gradebook
I haven't been able to.
by clicking on the student name in the Gradebook. And there it is right there. There's the
Oh, the
inbox.
message box. Thank you so much. I'm so embarrassed. Oh my gosh.
No. There's so many things on these screens. I'm still noticing things that I've never seen before.
Well, have you
And I've been
noticed-
using Canvas for 3.5 years, so don't feel bad.
Okay, thanks. And then do you know anything?
All right, great.
about it?
That's a great question. They're perfect for this moment. I should have mentioned that. I didn't, because, and I'll mention too that you can also communicate with your students through the Gradebook in a variety of ways. That's one way. You can message a student directly from, or almost directly within the Gradebook, but you can also go to an assessment and click the context menu next to the assessment, and there's a message students who option for each assessment. And this is what you were referring to that you'd figured out. But you can then, for a particular assessment, a particular grade column in the Gradebook, you can message automatically or semi-automatically message students who either haven't submitted the assignment, haven't been graded, like I'm working on it, don't panic. Or who scored less than or more than a certain amount. And you can send a group message in that regard.
Can you review how you got to that box? I forgot how to get to that box.
Absolutely. You go to the column in the gradebook and mouse over the column header, and there's a context menu will pop up. The little 3 vertical dots.
Yeah.
It's like the action links in Blackboard.
But I'm getting,
you click on that, and you select message students who.
I don't get that option for some of my assignments or something. Maybe I'm not doing it right.
Let's see. The assignment has to be published, though there don't have to have been any submissions in it, obviously. I've not seen that. I've not seen that not show up. If you look, it's showing up in every one of my assessments. If you want to send me an email about that, I'll take a look at your gradebook and note the columns that you can't see that in, and I'll take a look and see what I can figure out.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. But you see, every time it's showing up.
Yeah, gradebook is a separate topic for me. I have so many gradebook questions, so I'll wait. But thank you, I really appreciate it.
Well, yeah, I'd like to take those later. But this is I mean, the gradebook is a communication tool in Canvas, and a very good one, because you can communicate with students in a very timely and focused manner.
Exactly.
This is specifically about this. Why haven't you turned in this assignment? It can be a way to motivate them or to remind them that maybe they missed it.
It's a bonus. Can you see about Pronto? Have you seen that in the lower left, that little chat thing?
Yes, Pronto is a wonderful real-time communication tool that integrates very nicely with Canvas. The problem is we don't know if we're going to be able to keep it or not. It's quite expensive. They're giving it away for a limited time, and it has been, because of some timing issues, the dean had to go ahead and activate that immediately.
I see.
But we're not ready to talk about it yet, because we don't know if it's going to be. We don't want to get people excited about it and find out that it's not going to be there. But I encourage you to play with it. That's certainly not hurt anything.
Thank you. I need to invest properly. Thank you.
But, you just have to download an app onto your smartphone to get started with.
Thank you.
I've tried that. It's a tool we had access to in Blackboard, or we potentially had access to in Blackboard as well, and we could never afford it. So I don't see it as likely that that's going to stay. So I don't want to get too deep into that right now. But good question about that. I'm sure everybody's seeing that now. Okay, so let's go back to the inbox tool for a second. A few other things we can look at there. Of course, you read your messages in the usual way. They come in here on this left pane, and you can just click on one to read it. You can choose to see messages from all of your courses, which is the default, or you can select individual courses that you want to see messages from. And this selection thing is a little twitchy in terms of moving the mouse around and getting the highlights to work and so on. You have to have a steady hand. Let's see if I have, these messages came from that particular course. So I can segregate this by course. And hopefully you'll never have as many courses in your list as I do there right now. You can see your inbox. You can see messages, only messages that you have not yet read, or that you have starred as being particularly important. You can see your sent messages. You can archive message and our messages, and you can see any submission comments that may have come in, which I don't have any right now in that course. So reading your email is pretty similar to Outlook, except you have a little bit more control over what you see at any given time. To but the default here, of course, would be all courses. To send messages in the inbox, back to the inbox there. It's not real well marked, but this is your compose, your send message or create message button here. If you click on that, you do have to select the course to which you wish to send this message. And you just, same thing, you select the course out of this list that you want to communicate into or with. And I'm just looking for one that I know has some students in it. There we go. Then you can choose your recipients by clicking this little icon right here, the recipient icon at the end of the to line. And for this course, you can send to either teachers or students or everyone. You can send to everyone in the course. More often than not, you'll be sending to students. If you click that, you can send to all students, or you can pick individual students to send to. Then it's just like any other email system. You have a subject. If you're sending to multiple students, you may want to check send an individual message to each recipient. That basically is a blind carbon copy option. That means that the students get what looks like an individualized message, and they can't see that you've sent it to a million other people as well. So that's often used when you're sending to multiple recipients. And then you just type your message. You don't have a whole lot of options here to add links or anything like that. This is pretty much a text messaging tool, though you can attach files to the messages, and you can even make a little video message out of it by clicking on this link that says record an audio or video comment. Looks like a little computer screen with a right caret, the play button in it. You'll be able to, it will automatically find your webcam. By the way, you can't do this when you're in a Zoom meeting unless you have two webcams, because the Zoom locks down your primary webcam. So if you're trying this, it won't work unless you have, while you're in Zoom, unless you have two, but it'll work fine when you're not in the middle of a Zoom meeting. You'll be able to see if your camera is seeing you, of course, very readily. You'll also be able to tell if Canvas is hearing you by whether you see this little bouncing blue bar jumping across the screen indicating sound being received. If you don't see that, check your microphone settings and make sure it's set to a microphone that is actually connected to your computer and is working. Obviously, in order to make this work, you have to have both a webcam and a microphone, though they don't necessarily have to be part of the same device. So then you can just start recording. It'll count you down. Get your hair right. And, hi, everyone. This is a media message sent through the inbox tool in Canvas. Finish that. You can play a little bit of it, right? And to see that it recorded, and then save it. And it will be attached to your message, and the student will be able to click on that and play it back. And then you just send. So it's quite a robust messaging system. It is within Canvas 100% reliable. And it's much more likely to reach your students than the external mail tool you had in Blackboard, because we're keeping up better with keeping the student emails updated. That's not quite as much up to the students as it used to be. Any user, faculty or student, can check the email address that they have registered with Canvas by going to their account button and selecting settings. The email account or accounts, you can have multiples, that are associated with your Canvas account are seen in the upper right-hand corner here. And you can change this by adding new email addresses and deleting old ones. So if a student has changed an email address that they haven't updated with the district, they can go in here and they can add a new email address in. And you can choose to use different email addresses with Canvas as well. There is an issue that another Zoom issue that we've been fighting. If you wish to use the Confer Zoom app, the integration in your Canvas course menus, at least your primary email address, as indicated by the star here, has to be that's associated with your Canvas account, has to be your district email address, your sdccd.edu email address, instead of another personal email address. And that's unfortunate, because Canvas, as you're beginning to see, can generate a lot of traffic between notifications and student messages. And a faculty member can get several email messages from Canvas a day. And if that's all going into your district email box, that can be a problem, both because of capacity and because of having those get interspersed with all the district spam that comes out. That some people choose to use an email address other than their district email address with Canvas. They make a Gmail account that they can dedicate to Canvas, so that all of the messages they get from Canvas appear in one place and are not mixed in with other communications. But if you do that, you lose the ability to use that Confer Zoom app. Let me show you what I'm talking about. We'll talk more about that in a minute. That's a little hobby horse of mine. There it is right there. If you want to use this app with your students, you have to set your primary Canvas email account, associated external email account, to your district account. There's just no way around it. Okay. So that's pretty much Inbox tool. Anybody have any further questions about that?
I do.
Good.
Good morning. Okay.
Good morning.
This is Karen Pass, for those of you who know me and don't have my face. So Confer Zoom. That's why I even got on here today. And thank you. I'm so glad you do these things. Are you suggesting that we set up that? I haven't even been able to set up my box yet, so the students can get back at me. Is that where I do it? At that button?
Yeah, you mean for Zoom?
Yeah, so I can have a classroom and they can get to me and all that other stuff. Is that where I do it? I was told that by Helen I have to have permission.
You do have to have a Confer Zoom professional account with Zoom.
Okay.
In order to use that. Do you have that yet?
No, I didn't know how to get it.
That I can help with.
All right.
Go to conferzoom.org. I'll put that in the chat tool.
Okay. Yeah, this is like my 4th training, and that information I still have not got yet.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. All righty, there you go. Conferzoom.org.
Okay.
Just type that into your web browser and press enter,
Okay.
and you'll go to this site
Okay.
and just sign up right here.
Ah,
First name, last name, district email. Give them your sdccd.edu email, or they won't give you the account for obvious reasons. Your organization is just your college or your continuing ed. And classification is faculty, staff, or administrator.
does adjunct fall under faculty?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And
Okay.
thank you for your service.
Oh.
Any faculty member, full or part-time at any California community college, can get this for free. It's a $15 a month value, so it's nice to
There
have.
you go. Okay.
Your title, adjunct, assistant professor, or whatever, and
Okay.
a phone number, a cell phone number at which you can be
Okay.
reached.
Yeah.
And then just sign up. They'll get back to you. It's been taking them 2 or 3 days to get people set up because of the huge influx of requests, but they will get back to you. They're very good about it. They're very hardworking, wonderful folks based over at Palomar College. And they're providing us with an amazing resource.
Okay. Wow.
Okay, that's just the sort of thing that we definitely want to get taken care of
Thank
today.
you.
But now let's talk about probably the most robust and important communication tool in Canvas in any learning management system. And that's the discussion tool, which you can access through the discussions link in the course menu. This is very comparable to the discussion tools we had in Blackboard. And this is what the primary difference between a correspondence course, which we are not allowed to offer, and an online or hybrid or web enhanced course. And so if for the last several weeks, all of the courses we've been offering at the district are by definition at least web enhanced, because none of them are able to operate in the classroom at this point in time. Even if they're not traditional online courses, they're certainly web enhanced. And this discussion forum or discussion tool is what really distinguishes a correspondence course from an online or web enhanced course, because it's a way to have two-way discussions with your students and between your students without everyone having to be online at the same time. Zoom is a wonderful tool for real-time communication. There's none better, even with their current issues. There's still none better. And but it does have the requirement that if you're going to communicate via Zoom, you pretty much all have to be online at the same time. It's a synchronous tool, real time. But much of there's only so much communication that can be carried on that way. There are only so many hours in the day when we can all get together. And individual schedules interfere, and getting students motivated to actually show up at a particular time for a Zoom session is a good deal more complex than allowing them an option where they can communicate on their own time. It's just likely to be more successful. Also, students who are reluctant to participate in a class discussion that either takes place in a physical classroom or in a Zoom classroom like this one, will often be much more comfortable participating in a discussion held asynchronously through a discussion forum in a learning management system like Canvas. So it's just a terrific, powerful tool for holding and enriching class discussions. And it's basically a bulletin board system. That's the metaphor that's usually used. A student comes along and posts, you post a big message at the top of the bulletin board that tells the students what the bulletin board is for. Just imagine that in your behind your eyes there. And then students come along, and a student will come along and will post a sticky note on that board, post a note with a thumbtack on that board. That's a message that everyone sees. You see it, the other students see it as they walk by on their own time. And multiple students can do that, each one starting what's called a discussion thread. Then someone who reads one of those posted messages can reply to it by tacking another sticky note or another piece of notepaper right at the bottom of the first one. And we start to build up this string of replies to that first message. And we can have replies to replies and things like that. You can get a very nuanced, very rich discussion going, even though there may never be two people standing in front of that bulletin board at the same time. They can all do this on their own time, and that's basic. And the discussion tool in Canvas is basically an electronic version of that sort of thing. It's easier to grasp that if you're not familiar with discussions by looking at one that has some messages in it. So I've got a mock-up of one here. This was a discussion forum I used in an old Flex, online Flex course that I used to offer years ago on the multimedia technique of screencasting, which, by the way, we have one of these live seminars coming up on, I believe it's on the 21st of April. But here, in this discussion tool, I asked them to please post 3 ideas for instructional applications of a particular screencasting tool called Camtasia in their field, and then ask for replies and comments. These can be either ungraded or graded, depending on your needs. If you want to make this part of your assessment for class participation, you can grade these very easily in Canvas. But the first student comes along and wants to post something, they click the reply button here. That's the reply button for my original directions or information that I've provided up here. And when they do, they get a rich content editor window, the standard text editor in Canvas. And they can type a message. They can do more than type. They can embed YouTube videos. They can create links to content outside of Canvas. They can embed all sorts of videos, still images. They can attach files. So if you want students to submit a series of project submissions that can be visible to other students automatically, you can just have them attach those to a discussion post in a discussion forum designed for that purpose. But this one was more just a classic back and forth discussion. So this first student here, this test student, has posted what I asked for, 3 ideas for instructional applications. Not sure what Bullwinkle is teaching, but apparently this is something he feels he can do in his subject area. I guess I could have asked for the subject area as well if I'd thought of that. So there he posts. And another student, Boris in this case, comes by and reads this and has a question. Well, how long can the PowerPoint lectures be if you do this? And later on, the Bullwinkle comes back and sees Boris's question and answers it. So this is the beginning, at least, of a complete discussion thread, we call it, where the messages are all related to one another. And you can tell that this is a thread in two ways in the discussion forum. One, the little avatar icons are indented underneath one another. So you can tell that Boris replied to Bullwinkle, and then Bullwinkle replied to Boris's reply by the fact that they're indented to the right. Also, there's white space around this group of posts. And they're grouped together like this, not necessarily because they were posted in that chronological order. They're grouped together because they're related to one another by the use of the reply buttons here and here. So that's a discussion thread. And then you see others like that here. And the discussion can get quite lengthy, but you can always keep track of the different discussion threads just by scrolling up and down and watching for them as they're segregated from one another. Here's another thread. And this is the beginning of yet a third thread. And they can get quite robust. You can get hundreds of messages in a discussion forum like this. You can have conversations, discussions that are far richer and more extensive than anything you could ever have time to do in a lecture, a live lecture, whether in a physical classroom or in a Zoom room. And again, people who are reluctant to participate in face-to-face discussions will sometimes become lions in these. So it's a tremendous tool, and one that again distinguishes in many ways a correspondence course from a true educational experience with the active involvement of the teacher. You can participate in these discussions yourself or not, as fits your particular needs and desires. There is also a subscribe button associated with each discussion forum, and any user who has access to the board, any user in this course, can hit that subscribe button, and the result of that is that this overrides any notification settings you may have set otherwise, and it will ensure that every time someone posts in this discussion forum, you receive an email with the discussion, actually, in this case, I think with the discussion post in it. So you don't have to come back into Canvas to keep up with things that are happening in the discussion forum. Be a little careful with that. If it's a very active discussion forum, you may get a lot of emails from Canvas. You can also just periodically enter the discussion and look and see what's been added. And you can tell what you've read and what you haven't. Indeed, you can just click show me unread, and it will just pop up the posts that you've not yet read, so you can you don't have to go through the whole thing looking. The subscription option is especially good for discussion forums that don't get a lot of activity, but that when something is posted in there, you really need to know it. For instance, a common strategy in an online course is to have a discussion forum for questions and answers, where the students can contact you when they have a question, or contact the class when they have a question. These are very handy. They, again, those, you may not get a post in it every day, but when you do get a post in it, you want to know so you can reply to the student as quickly as possible. The advantage to doing it this way, as opposed to using the inbox tool for these kind of conversations, is that you're not the only one answering the questions often enough. If a student posts a question in a question and answer forum, about half the time, another student will answer it before you even see it. And about half of those times, they'll actually get it right. So it can save you a lot of time. And it also promotes student-to-student interaction, which is one of those things that we are tasked to do in a class that is taking place at least partially online, as all of our classes are right now. So this is an incredibly important and powerful tool. To show you how to create one, it is very simple. You just go to your discussion tool and you add a discussion by clicking on that add discussion. I'll just call this sample discussion. In this text box here, you'll type what this is for. Or something, you know, whatever. You can, if you need expanded instructions, you can attach a file to that the students can download and look at. But with this rich content editor, that's seldom necessary because you can put just about any content in here you want, including copying and pasting something from a Word document. And usually it works quite well to do that. There are some options you have to pick. One you certainly want to pick is allow threaded replies, and almost all the time. Another good one is users must post before seeing replies. If you, like that focused discussion forum I showed you a minute ago, where the students had to answer a question that I posed, it's better if they have to make their initial post before they can see any of the other students' replies to my original question or my original instructions. Otherwise, you get a lot of minor variations on things that other people have already posted. So if they can't even see those before they have to make their first post, that can encourage originality, to say the least. Now we're going to worry about a podcast feed. If you want to make this a part of your assessment strategy for your course, you can make it graded. And if you're a Facebook fanatic, you can allow liking too. I don't think much of that in a discussion forum, but that's just me. You can set up the point, if you make it graded, you can set up the points possible you want to award for it. And you have the usual option to display your grades as points or percentages or letter grade scale. You can put it into if you use assignment groups, which is beyond the scope of this discussion, you can assign it to the appropriate assignment group. You can have peer reviews of this activity. They can be assigned manually or automatically and require students to, since it's kind of, the discussion itself is sort of a giant peer review, that's not quite as probably as useful as it is in, say, a homework assignment, but there are circumstances I can see where it would happen. And by default, of course, the group will be available to everyone, but you can assign it to individual students. You can make a discussion forum that is only visible to certain students, if it's appropriate. And you can use discussions with student groups, which is definitely outside the scope of this presentation. We do have a session on using student groups in Canvas where we talk about that. And there is a recording of one of those on our on-demand website. And if you are grading this and there are time limits that you need to set, you can do that just as you would with a homework assignment or a quiz. For due date and availability dates, available from and until dates can all be set. So that's pretty standard. And then you can just save that group, that discussion forum, I should say. And you'll find that listed under your discussion tools. There it is, that's the one I just made. Discussions are either pinned, as displayed in the discussions tool, are either pinned or unpinned. And I get a lot of questions about this. Probably the number one question is, how do I control the order in which the discussion forums are displayed to the students in the discussions tool here? And the answer is, in this section, if the discussion forum is not pinned, you can't control the order that these appear in. They just appear, the one that was either created the latest or has the latest activity in it is the one that appears in the top. And the others are ranked below it by activity, at the bottom being the one that's been the longest since anybody's posted to it. However, if you wish, you can pin discussions to the top of the page here and put it in this group of discussions just by dragging the discussion up into the pinned area, clicking and dragging on that movement tool. Within the pinned discussion area, you can determine the order in which the discussions are listed. This is more like what we had in Blackboard here. And you can pin all your discussions and order them if you like. But pinned discussions are, the intent was originally that pinned discussions were ones that were especially important or especially current, of immediate interest right now. And they would be shown at the top of the list and others down below. But you can handle that any way you like. Of course, you also would want to put these discussions into modules so that students could access them from there rather than having to go to the discussions tool here. Like here, the screencasting Q&A, I've embedded in this Getting Started module here. You can put a link to a discussion into a module by just clicking the Add Item button for the module here on the line with the name of the module and selecting Discussion and finding the discussion that you want to link to out of this module and add the item and publish it. And now students can access that discussion from within the module rather than having to go over here to the discussion tool and look for it. Just the basic idea of modular design in Canvas, where the students can go to the modules and find everything they need without having to look through the course menu for it. Makes it a lot easier on them, and in the long run, a lot easier on you, because you have to answer a lot fewer questions like, where was that discussion again? Okay, let's see. You had a couple of good questions over here about discussions. Can I use discussions to present a virtual poster? Oh boy, yeah, you sure could. All students must be able to see it. Yeah, by definition, all students will be able to see whatever other students put into a discussion forum. And the students can attach files to the discussion posts, or they can embed pictures into the discussion posts and videos, whatever, can all be put in. So discussion forums can be used for a lot more than just this classic idea of a class discussion. They could be used to present as a virtual poster session. And I know a lot of folks who do that. So it's a value added use of it. A number of questions about a Canvas 101, beginning an introductory presentation about Canvas. And yes, absolutely. We will
I have
be
a
doing
question
one of,
for discussions,
okay,
please.
go ahead.
Thank you. Would you scroll down on that page a little bit, please?
On this page?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, it's gone. Before, when you were on that page, you had it when before you were demonstrating how to move it, the discussion up.
Oh, the discussions. Yeah, let me pull
Yeah,
up the
you
discussions.
had a blue dot. The blue dot is gone. I didn't know what the blue dot was for.
Blue dot means that that one has not been accessed yet.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
That means the students haven't looked at it, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Nothing in it. I haven't
Okay.
looked at it either, apparently.
Okay, thank you.
There, now it's gone.
What'd you
Good
do? I
question.
turned my face. Did you edit it?
I just went into it and came out of it.
Oh, okay. I looked away. I didn't see it. Okay, thank you much.
And you also get, with each forum, you get the number of replies that you haven't read, the total replies, whether it's published or not, and the ability to subscribe to it from here. And you can also unpin it, move it, duplicate it.
Oh.
If you are making a bunch of similar discussion forums, you can duplicate one rather than having to create it from scratch. You can copy it to another course, share it to the commons, or you can just delete it if you don't need it anymore, if it was a bad idea to start with. So that's just basic management stuff with discussions.
Okay, thanks.
You bet. Great questions. This is the best way to do a Zoom session when we have like under 30 people or so in it. And especially when everybody's so well behaved like you all have been. Thank you. The Zoom session is so much richer and more effective if it's a dialogue rather than a lecture. Especially when it's among colleagues like this, as opposed to a more traditional class setting. But I think even in a class setting, if the students can participate freely, as long as they're not too disruptive, the whole process is so much richer. And as Zoom gives you that capability, it's a shame to waste it.
David,
so thank you for the participation. Yes.
good morning. Is there a way to copy a discussion? I have about a dozen different topics I teach in my computer lab. So so if I want to copy things to another course, please demonstrate how that would work.
You bet. It's, let's say I wanted to copy this discussion. It's in the this context menu here, out to the right of the line for this forum, in the discussion list. And it says copy to.
And then what are the options? What are the choices?
The course you want to copy it to.
Okay.
And hopefully, God, you won't have that many options. So you just pick the course. I don't know if you can pick multiples. I don't think you can. Nope. You have to do it one at a time. But you select the course you want to put it to, and then you select the module that you want to drop it into in that course. That is optional, however. You can just copy it to the discussion tool in the other course and then deal with it later as far as putting it in a module. And when you have selected the course and optionally the module you want to put it in the other course, you just hit copy. I don't want to do that because that's somebody's running. Oh no, that's a spring 2019 English 101, but that course shell's still out there. It's got students, student data in it and so on. I don't want to put something in there, but that's the process. It just takes a few mouse clicks.
And if you export a course, it contains all these discussions as well. So if you export the entire course, it
Right.
will.
You get the discussions as well. Or you can pull the discussions by themselves. Let's say there was a discussion in another course that I wanted to put into this one. I could go to the settings menu in this course. This is the course into which I want to put those discussions or discussion, and import course content.
Okay.
And I'm presuming that these discussions are in one of your other shells on our same Canvas system, in which case I would select copy a Canvas course. If these were discussions that were in an export file that you created off of another school's Canvas system, which you're perfectly welcome to do. Say you teach courses at both Southwestern and City, and you want to pull some discussions that you have in your Southwestern already created in a Southwestern course into a course on our system, you just select Canvas course. You'd export those discussions from your Southwestern course, get a zip file on your local hard drive that you could then import into our system. But more often than not, it's going to be a course that's on our system. And when you go to search for a course where that
This is where I've got,
discussion forum is currently located.
right. I get stuck here because I don't see a drop-down list of course names, and I've got.
Well, if you don't see a drop-down list, it means you have too many for like I do. You have too many for Canvas to show them all to you at one time. So you just start typing the name or the code for the course.
Okay. Okay. Huh.
The course naming system I use. So just start typing the first few letters of the course name and it will pop up.
Okay. I'll try that again.
I'll just
Thank you.
pick one of those. If you're just looking for discussions, you won't want to import all of the content from that course. Though that would be appropriate if you were, say, moving your content from your discussion or from your development shell into a live shell, getting ready for a new semester. You would take all the content, but in this case, we just want the discussions by your, in the context of your question. So we'll say select specific content instead of taking it all, and then just click import. Then we get a new job created under import content here, and we can click on the select content button, and we can find the discussion topics.
Okay.
We either take them all, or we can take individual ones.
Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. That's very helpful. I was having trouble with the step of selecting a course, so because
Yeah.
I like you, so I'll try.
Because it wasn't showing you anything, because it's saying, you got too many courses, lady. I can't show them all here. You're going to have to give me some help.
Got it. Okay, good.
Yeah. All righty.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Yes, so I have a problem with hiding the participants on the right when you're discussing something right under that. It's covered, like I can't see it. You know what I'm saying? So you were
I'm
just
sorry, no, I'm
discussing-
lost.
Let me say it again. So on the screen, you are discussing something on the very, very right side of the screen. And then I have all the participants, including myself, covering it. How can I hide it?
I'm sorry.
How can I hide that?
You can, if you click at the top of that, or if you look at the top of that box that has
Yeah, I see
those
that.
video thumbnails, there's a little dash at the left
Yeah,
that will minimize that.
I was thinking of that one, but I wasn't sure. I just want to, so this will hide it?
Well, that it will make it
Oh,
very
yeah, it
small,
did, it did.
and
I
then
was
you can drag
struggling
it. You can move it around if it gets in the way by clicking and dragging.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I
Oh,
am so sorry. That's yeah,
thank
that's a
you.
feature of Zoom. You bet.
No, I got it, look.
Yeah, for that reason, I haven't been as careful about that as I should today. For that reason, sometimes when I'm sharing my screen, I will, rather than full screening what I'm sharing, I'll make it, I'll unfull screen it, and I'll leave this section of the, and I won't use this section of my screen because I know that those video windows may be obscuring what I'm talking about
Okay.
over here. And I got
Good.
careless
How do I
about
get
that
it?
today. I'm sorry.
How do I get it back now?
There's a little, in addition to the dash, you also have a little rectangle, 2 rectangles, and a
Yeah.
tic-tac-toe board. You can click on any of those to get it back. You can have one, a few, or many
Okay.
displayed, depending on which of those little icons you click on
Oh,
in the
got
black
it, got
part
it.
at the top.
I got it. Thank you.
You bet.
Learning more.
And another good question here, what if you need to copy discussions to another class at a different college? In that event, you would need to export the content from whatever course contains the content now. You can do that by going to Settings, Export Course Content. You only have 2 options when you're exporting. You either take the entire course or just the quizzes. But they don't have other options like just the discussions or just the modules or something like that. You either have to take the whole thing or the quizzes. So usually you'll take the whole thing. So you create the export. This is not a very big course. This could take quite a bit longer if it were a big course. There's a lot of content in it. This is a fairly simple little course. So now I get a new export. These are some older ones I've done here, but here's the new export. And I click on that to download it. And I have a Canvas course exports folder here. I keep for that. Put it somewhere, obviously you can find it. There we go. Save that file. Yeah, sure. I've done this before, so. So now that's saved, that the contents of this course are saved on my local hard drive. Unfortunately, I can't open that file up, unzip it, and take a look at the content and so on. The only thing that zip file is good for is to import into another Canvas system or another Canvas course on the same system. I can't do anything else with it. But let's say now I go from the system where I had the content to another college's Canvas system, and I have a shell on that system where I want to import this stuff into. So I just go to my dashboard and I find that one. Here's a general junk course that I use to demonstrate things like that. So let's say this is the course where I want my discussions to appear. I can go to, it's the same process now that we've done before with import course content, from settings to import course content to now I'm going to import a Canvas course export package. That's what I created when I exported my course content. I have to tell Canvas which file that is on my local hard drive. So I go to that wherever I put that. And let's see, 410. Here's the one I just did. I can tell by the date stamp. So I open that one, to tell Canvas that's the file that contains the information I want to import. I'm going to upload it to course files, about my only option really. And I'm going to import it. And unfortunately, in this manner, I don't really have the option to just take some of it. I get all of it or none of it, because that's a full course export. So that content will now appear in my shell on this system. So that's how you can move content from one Canvas system at one college to another Canvas system in another. Though keep in mind that at the district, the San Diego district, Miramar, Mesa, City, and Continuing Ed all use the same Canvas system. So there you just copy a Canvas course. It's all within our one Canvas system. There aren't separate Canvas systems for each of our colleges and Continuing Ed. That would be chaos. Okay. People having to leave to go to other Canvas systems. Indeed, this was our nominal end time here. And we've pretty much covered everything I wanted to cover about communication in Canvas. But especially since we got started so late because of the password fuss, I'm more than happy to continue to take questions on any subject, communication or otherwise. Let me go back in the chat tool here and see if I've missed anything. I hope you finally got your coffee, Cindy. And I'm sorry, yeah, I did share that. I showed you that agenda, but I did not share it. Let me do that. That's a very reasonable request. Let me find it here. There it is. We'll put that in the chat tool. And most of you, I think, are aware by now with Zoom that you can save the Zoom chat tool. You don't have to try to copy and paste that nasty URL that I just put in there. You can, if you go to the lower right-hand corner of the chat tool, there's a little menu item, a menu icon, the three dots in a row, the ellipsis. If you mouse over it, it says More. And if you click on that, you have an option to save your chat tool or your chat log. You can do that as often as you like during the meeting. Best time, of course, is just before you leave, so you get everything that's been covered to that point. And that will allow you to keep those links that and the email addresses and so on I've put in there, and anything that anybody else has shared. The chat log will be found in your Documents folder on the PC or on the Mac in a folder called Zoom. I have a lot of Zoom sessions and recordings here, but it will be the subfolder in which the current session information is stored will be identifiable by the year, month, day, and time that it started. And so that's this one right here, today's date. Open that, and your meeting, your chat log, will be a text file called Meeting Saved Chat. If you double click that, you get the chat log. And it's got the links and so on in it. That's something we have to cover almost every time. So let's see. Okay, I'm so sorry about the password fuss. I still haven't entirely calmed down. I'm not happy with, not happy with Zoom this morning.
Thank you for responding.
Oh, you're certainly welcome. I'm so sorry it took a time for everybody to get in. A request about maybe having a Canvas one-on-one session for the CalWorks program. I'm sure we could set that up, Amy. Just email me and we'll set up a time to do that.
Dave, can I ask a question?
You certainly may.
I'm very sorry I missed the beginning of the meeting. Can you just do a brief outline
How
of the?
could you possibly have avoided that?
Can you do a brief outline of the beginning of how to communicate with students through Canvas? Just the beginning section.
Well, yeah, I can give you the general outline here. Absolutely.
Thank you.
What we talked about today primarily were the various communication tools built into Canvas. We talked about announcements, which are basically just like posting a piece of paper on the classroom door that the students see when they first enter. It's just a message. Kind of like an email, only instead of the students getting individual emails, everybody sees the same copy of it. And that's done under the announcements tool in Canvas. You can just add an announcement, give it a subject, a title, and a message. And it can be quite robust because you get the full rich content editor. So you can type text, you can embed video, images, links to other content, both inside and outside of Canvas. It can be a full Canvas page for that matter, in effect. You can attach files to it if that's appropriate. And then you can save it, and every student in the course can see it by going to the announcements tool. Or if they have a notification set to tell them when an announcement is posted in their course by email, they'll get an email telling them that you've just posted an announcement. That's not something you can control or override, but it's a good bet that they'll probably get an email as well. So that was the announcements tool. Then we talked about the Canvas inbox tool, and I'm not sure exactly when you came in.
At the end.
But the Canvas inbox tool is your email tool in Canvas, right, basically.
Yes, Canvas inbox.
And you can send, you can receive messages in your Canvas inbox. You can send messages to your students. Mm-hmm. And they will get it not only in their Canvas inbox, but also in their personal email inbox, external to Canvas. Okay. And then they can reply to you and it'll come back to your Canvas inbox and to your personal email address.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Or email inbox.
Thank you.
So end-to-end communication. Sounds like you're familiar with that. That's an incredibly powerful tool. It's one that can generate a lot of messages. Mm-hmm. But
is there a way to include everybody? Is there a way to include everybody in the email?
Oh yeah. You do have to select the course you want to email because you can't email all of your courses at once.
Right.
I can see why that would be handy, but they've chosen not to do. That could also generate just blizzards of emails that weren't intended, so they haven't given you that capability, and I can understand why. But you pick the course in which you want to communicate, and then you can select your recipients using this little icon right here, and you can send to teachers or students. If you send to students, you can send to all students.
Okay.
Or individual students.
Got it. Okay.
Make sense?
Yep. Perfect. Perfect.
Great.
Thank
you.
You
I could have done this a lot faster, couldn't I? How'd that take an hour and a half? What can I say? Like, as is the case with many of us in this profession. One grows comfortable with the sound of one's own voice. Okay, and then we talked about discussion forums as a communication tool. And they are, I think that's something you're probably fairly familiar, and that's basically what we've talked about.
I saw that part.
Oh, good, good. How about some other questions?
Dave, when you say some students get an email when you do an announcement, is that their choice whether they get those emails?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That is covered by their notification settings under their account settings. And I believe by default, though it's been so long since I was first into this system, I'm not quite sure, and they change things too, but I believe that is set as a default, that they get an email when you post an announcement, but they can change that. And nothing you can do about that. In Blackboard, we had a way to override their notification preferences. When we posted an announcement, we could force it to go to their email, but you don't have that in Canvas. Okay, good question.
Super.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
How do we know if we have a Confer Zoom account or just regular Zoom account? And then how does the Confer Zoom account or menu on the left in Canvas?
Okay. You can tell whether your Zoom account is a Zoom Pro account, probably provided by, almost certainly provided by Confer Zoom, by going to the Zoom website at zoom.us or cccconfer.zoom.us, which for us is the same thing. Up. cccconfer.zoom.us, sorry. When you get there, so if you're not already signed into Zoom, you'll be prompted to do so. Let me show you that. This is what you would see if you hadn't visited this site recently. You click sign in and sign in with the credentials you were provided by Confer Zoom. Mine's different than yours. You would use your district email address. I have history with both Zoom and CCC Confer that prohibits me from using mine due to I used to be a Zoom administrator on another group of Zoom accounts, and that's never gotten straightened out. So I can't use my district email account for this, but yours would be your district email, and then whatever password you set or were provided with. And that gets you into your Zoom account management screens at zoom.us. To see whether your account is a pro account or not, click on the little cartouche up in the upper right-hand corner here. And let me make sure that's not behind somebody's video windows. I hope I got that out of the way. I've got a profile picture up there, but you just may have a silhouette here if you haven't uploaded a profile picture. But if you see that, it means you're logged in and Zoom knows who you are. If you click on that little cartouche, if it says licensed, you have a pro account. If it says basic, you have a free account.
And then what's the difference between the two, and how does it automatically go to our Canvas where we can click on Confer Zoom in Canvas to start a meeting?
It's meant to.
It's meant to.
It's meant
Okay.
to.
Their intention's good.
There's quite a bit of history there. Just let me try to summarize it. If your primary email account in Canvas and in your portal, your PeopleSoft portal, is set to your district email account, your sdccd.edu account, then yes, your Zoom account is automatically linked up with the Confer Zoom app in your Canvas course. I can't show you that logged in as me because mine doesn't work because of some history, again, that I have with the two systems. But if I log out and log in as an instructor level account that I've created for myself that does not have that history and uses my appropriate email address. And let me just bring up this course we were in. But here I'm not a system administrator, I'm an instructor level account. Now I can go to Confer Zoom. And I can use this Confer Zoom, but you can't tell just by looking at this whether your Confer Zoom integration is actually working. To see if it's working, you have to go to Account Settings over here in the upper right. Little link there. And in this menu here, Conferencing Accounts. And if you see that green check mark, you're golden. Everything's working. If you don't, there may be a button to reassociate my account. You can try that. And the green check mark may appear. If neither one of those works, then you have an issue. It probably means that either in Canvas or in the My Portal, that the district, you have selected some other email address other than your sdccd.edu email address as the default. And in that event, this app, they call it, this integration for Confer Zoom in Canvas can't connect with Zoom, your Zoom account, even though it was provided to you by Confer Zoom. You can go to your portal and fix that, the PeopleSoft portal. I can't show you that one because I don't have any access to that. They brought PeopleSoft online long after I retired, so I don't have any access to that portal. A circumstance, I might add, for which I am eternally grateful.
And so the difference between Confer Zoom and My Zoom Room is what on your menu?
A Confer Zoom is just the organization that is providing you with a free Zoom Pro account.
Okay.
Okay, so a so-called Confer Zoom account is just a Zoom Pro account that was paid for by the State Chancellor's Office and provided to you for free through the CCC Confer program at Palomar College.
Okay.
It's no different from any other Zoom Pro account in terms of its capabilities or how you can manage it at the Zoom website. That's all the same. It's just, it's meant to be a little bit easier way to use it within Canvas. This Confer Zoom app is just a nice integration that allows you to use Zoom a little bit easier. That was the theory anyway, through Canvas. Though there are lots of ways to use your Confer Zoom account without using this Confer Zoom app. You don't have to use this app. But it does make it a little quicker for you to schedule a meeting or start an immediate meeting through while within Canvas. And it gives your if you do that, it gives your students a way to access those meetings through the Confer Zoom app, rather than you having to put a link to your Zoom room into Canvas. So yourself. So it's a convenience is all it is. It's not, doesn't give you any capability that you don't have. And I can go and I go into much more detail about that in a Zoom introduction to Zoom setting or a seminar. But
Okay.
you can use this certainly, and as long as you can go to account settings and conferencing accounts and see that green check mark, you're good to go, and you can use this to your heart's content, and your students will be able to use it to access both your live meetings and your recordings.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
okay, did that answer your question?
Yep, sure did. Thank you.
Great. Let's see, let's see. I'm on a Samsung tablet and I can't find out how to save the chat. That's a good question. I'm not sure that is possible on a mobile device. That's something I need to find out. I can tell you whether it's possible on an iPhone or not.
Yeah, I can do it in my laptop, but here in this tablet, I don't see how to save it.
Yeah, I'm not certain there is a way. I'm looking at a mobile device here.
Okay.
And I tell you what, that's probably something that I can handle better offline. Would you mind sending me an email to remind me to do that? Because I have both an iOS and an Android device that I can look at, and I can see if it's possible to save that chat log on something other than a computer. That's not
Will
something.
I be able to see? Will I be able to see this one when you are you gonna post this recording?
I am.
Okay. Okay. So I will be able to see the chat there, right?
I don't necessarily post the chat log.
Oh.
But if you will send me an email, I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. As a matter of fact, I sent you another one already, so I figured that you have many of them.
Go right ahead. I'm relatively caught up on my email. I'll do some more of that this afternoon, so I'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Good question. Good question. I'm fascinated to figure that out. Okay. I am so glad so many of you managed to get in here finally. That was that's the other thing I have to do this afternoon is get that sorted out so that doesn't happen again. Well, I wish I could assure you it won't happen again, but I can't guarantee it because there's no telling what Zoom's going to do next.
Right.
Yes.
A quick question.
Okay.
Stop and restart randomly there. I'll take both questions before I leave, so don't worry. Somebody just start there.
I'll go ahead. Okay, I guess I'll go.
It looks like you have the floor.
Okay. You know, it sounds like I apologize for joining the meeting late, but it sounds like
no apologies necessary. Everyone had trouble this morning. Not to worry.
Yeah, that's been something that I've been running into with my Zoom meetings where the invite doesn't work. Some students aren't able to get in, then they email me afterward. I have no way of checking, you know, if they're doing that, if it's legit. Like I suspect most of them it is a legit concern.
Certainly some of them have been blocked or have not had a password that Zoom put on basically without warning.
Oh, I see.
And you didn't even have a chance to choose it. And I don't have a full answer for you right now on that because I fiddled with it some this morning, but I haven't had the chance to do an in-depth investigation. But there is a meeting link that does seem to be working that is reliable. And let me show you where you can find it.
Okay.
Oh, that's not the one I wanted. Let's see, that is here under If you go to zoom.us and log in as yourself, if you go to your profile, this is the link, the new link to your personal meeting room. It's got the password, whatever password Zoom has set for you, embedded in it. If you provide that link to the students, they will be able to get into your personal meeting room, and you can meet them there by either using the same link, or you can go to the Meetings tab in Zoom and go to your personal meeting room and join your personal meeting room from there. Or this may say start meeting if there's not a meeting running already, but it probably will. But you can start the meeting that way and then meet your student, and you can be confident that your students can get in and that you will all end up in the same place. So I'm not sure if that was the question you were about to ask, but that's the answer to that question. What else did you have?
I mean, so is that like, I mean, is that the instead of sending an invite, I should be sending that link that you just showed? Link,
that's what you want to send. That's the one thing that I know is working right now. And the password for the meeting is embedded in that link. It's encoded into it. So I know that right now that's what's working.
So is that like if you make your you schedule your meeting and then you would go back into your profile and then that's going to appear? I guess I'm a little bit lost.
Well, yeah, because there are too many options here and Zoom has closed off some of them without warning. If you schedule a meeting through the Zoom scheduling, either here,
yeah,
or through the Confer Zoom app, it's the same thing. It's just a different access to it. If you schedule a meeting here, use that button or this one. Zoom generates when it creates the meeting, generates a random meeting link. So let me just to give you an example. Let me schedule a meeting. I'll just call it my meeting, and I'm just going to randomly, let me select a future date so I don't interfere with this meeting. Let's say I'm going to do that tomorrow. You can require, well, that wasn't there earlier today. You can uncheck that and not require the meeting password.
Okay. I mean, with the meeting password, is that something that you had to send separately, or I mean, like, or through that link you just showed? I mean, or does this?
If you're scheduling a meeting, yes, you'd have to send them that meeting password.
I see.
But I'll warn you, some people had that not work for them this morning.
Yeah, I'm just trying.
My recommendation right now would be to take that out.
Okay.
Not give it any chance to fail.
So
you can choose.
When you scroll up a little bit where it says video, and you have the host and the guest, I think it was.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean
Yeah, I was told to leave the video, and it's just, if you scroll up just a little bit, it says participant. Yeah, right there. I was told to leave both of those off. And is that just when they enter the space or the meeting, and then they can unmute themselves or use the video? Yeah, because I ran into a problem this past Tuesday with my Miramar class where the invite didn't work, and then I was scrambling to create a new meeting. And luckily, most of the class, or at least the ones that were serious about attending, were able to then eventually join. But it was like a good 15 minutes where I was just trying to figure out where, you know, get a new meeting going and everything like that.
I empathize. The same thing happened to me this morning.
I see.
And I've been using Zoom for about 7 years, since one of their first public beta. And I spent a fair bit of time yesterday making sure everything was set so that wouldn't happen, and then made changes overnight that undid everything I did yesterday. And I know Zoom pretty well, and it's the same thing happened to me, so don't feel bad. It is it's this crazy reaction they're having to all the bad publicity that they're getting, because a few people have drawn nasty pictures on somebody's Zoom meeting. And it's so easy for the host to stop that sort of thing in its tracks. And Zoom has provided the tools we need to secure our meetings. But now they're enforcing the use of some of those tools in such a way that they're locking down the meetings to the point where sometimes the participants can't get in, as happened to you and happened to me this morning. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. I'm not happy about that. And I hope they've backed off before. We'll see if they back off this time. But yeah, you can certainly have the video off initially and not seriously impede your meeting. You probably want your video on, but theirs off. But that's up to you. I mean, you can turn your own video on as well. And maybe you don't want it on until you have a chance to comb through your hair or something like that. It's happened to me. Or you go in, you have time to go into the option in your video settings that says touch up my personal appearance. I hate to tell you, I have that turned on. As you can see, it's not miraculous in its effects. But anyway, yeah, it certainly won't hurt to have the participant video especially turned off when you start.
I have a question.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was auditing the Zoom chats, and so at one point you had put in conferzoom.org Zoom Pro account.
Right.
What is Zoom Pro account?
A Zoom Pro account is a full-featured professional level Zoom account that you can get and you can get one for free from conferzoom.org. The California Community College's conferencing organ that will provide you with a free Zoom Pro account for your own use, as long as you're a faculty or staff member at a California community college. That's a $15 a month value that they're providing to you for free.
That's what you were saying earlier. So that has nothing to do with our classes. That's a personal account.
No, that's just how you get your personal Zoom account.
Okay.
Which you then use for your classes, and which you can access through the Confer Zoom app in your Canvas course, if you have all of your email choices aligned with the stars. We've had a lot of people have trouble using this app, so I generally don't teach it. I teach ways to use Zoom with Canvas without using that app, because it's been too uncertain. They're improving that situation. So I don't see any particular reason not to use the Confer Zoom app now if you can, but some people can't use it. So because of choices they've made, reasonable choices they've made.
I remember, okay, you saying some of that. I have another question real quick. I think it's a
Surely.
I have had difficulties emailing my students through my SDCCD and Canvas. So I've had to, it was strongly suggested by my chair that I make up my own personal Gmail account. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, question being, That's the backstory. Question being, once I get
agree.
my Confer Zoom and you've shown me how to make sure that I use my SDCCD, that will have nothing to do with contacting my students through Zoom, correct? It's just to verify that the district has given me. Okay, I'm
right. You have to give Confer Zoom your district account, or they won't give you a free account.
No. Just the regular Zoom through Canvas. Canvas is not emailing my students. So now what I heard you say earlier is that just regular Zoom is much more reliable to email my students. I interpreted that to mean.
No, the Zoom and emailing your students don't have anything to do with one another.
Okay, I see you waving at me.
Zoom, if you're
I lost my voice.
Students,
I can't hear you.
Did I mute me? You mute myself. Let me check.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Can
yes.
you nod at me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
I hear you.
Yeah, you're gone on mine.
That's good. Let me check. Just a second.
That was a teaching moment. Oh,
check. Yes, I'm transmitting.
I'm sorry, I've lost you. Yeah, I can't get you back, Dave. I'm sorry. I'll have to try that another day.
I am sorry.
Me too. I read your lips. You said, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I'm muting out then. I guess you're gone for the day. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, not sure what might have happened there. Okay, let's see. Ethan, did we get your question answered? I'm not sure we finished all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm gonna have to try and create a new link. And
yeah, you will need to use that new. If you schedule meetings through the scheduling tool, either in Zoom or in Confer Zoom in Canvas, a meeting, a random meeting ID is created. And as long as the students enter through the Confer Zoom app in Canvas, they'll end up in the same room with you. But if you have previously sent out a link to them to your personal meeting room, they won't end up in the same place as you, which is how Zoom, in the rare circumstances where Zoom fails, that's how it fails, is you end up in one Zoom meeting room and they end up in another. So the way to avoid that is to use your personal meeting room. And you can force Zoom to use your personal meeting room by going to your Zoom account at zoom.us and going to settings. And there are two settings right at the top near the top of the settings list. One says use personal meeting ID when scheduling, and another says use personal meeting ID when starting an instant meeting. If you turn those two on, blue is on, no matter how you start the meeting, whether you schedule it or whether you start it by clicking a button that says start meeting, or you do it through Confer Zoom and you quick launch. If you have those two settings set that way, it'll always use your personal meeting room, in which case this link in your Zoom profile, this one with this is the hashed password, the encoded password. These characters right here, if you send them that link, they'll be able to get in, as of right now anyway. I don't see that changing. They'll be able to get into your personal meeting room, and so will you.
Okay.
and you'll all be in the same place. So that's the safest thing to do, to ensure that you and your students end up in the same place, and they don't have to have a password, a separate password, because that password's embedded in that link.
Okay.
That right now is the safest way to do it. When I get done here, I'm going to make sure that all of my meetings are set up that way henceforth. When I'll ask Mary Kingsley to send out another addendum saying, click on this link, and none other that you may have left over from earlier messaging, because they don't work anymore, because Zoom just, sorry. But this will work. And I don't foresee this not working at any time, because it has the meeting password embedded in it. Oh, I fought against that because it's so, there's no need for it, but they're covering their southern exposure, so not much.
Yeah, I mean, I figure if it's a way to streamline it, because my frustration is I'm at 3 different campuses, and you know, I'm trying to use the Zoom that they have for each of the schools and trying to do it how they instructed. I mean, so far the only one that hasn't had this problem of connectivity has been SDSU, and luckily with we actually had a Zoom meeting before the campus closed, so the tech was able to create a scheduled meeting and then embedded it in my Blackboard, and so I've been able to kind of access it that. But my Southwestern class and my class at Miramar, the link, the faulty links, the faulty invitations.
I checked that link at SDSU too, because these changes may have invalidated that one as well.
Yeah.
My links were fine as of yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
And suddenly they're not. Even my personal, I've customized a personal meeting room link, and as of first thing this morning, that was no longer working.
Unknown caller.
So that's the one that everybody was clicking on to get in. Actually, the link works, but it demands the password, which I had no chance. I didn't even know what the password was this morning. I had to go in and look it up because I didn't set it. So the only link I'm certain is working is the one in the profile. This one with the long hashed password. That one, and I don't think that one will stop working unless they decide to change my password for me and not tell me.
Could I ask something real quick?
You certainly may. Please go ahead.
I had an appointment, and then I was able to move it off, but I still have to go. So I appreciate your help. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't know what to do before because I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and then all of a sudden I really had to go. So I don't. If you have any suggestions, anyways. The one question I was going to ask is if there's a way to change point values of quiz questions that without clicking on each question. Do I have to click on each question though?
No. Yeah, you do have to click on each question.
Okay, so there's no possible workaround. That's what I needed to know.
The only way you can set in Canvas, the only way that I know of to set question values in bulk is to create a question group.
Okay.
And you can set all of the questions in the group
workaround.
to the same value.
Perfect. Can we do that real quickly? Because that's a brilliant workaround,
sure.
actually. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
But in order to use a question group, you have to have a question bank with your questions in it.
I do.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, you're in good shape there then. So I can add it. Let's just make a new quiz.
Or can I show you mine that we have? Is that?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead. Let me kill my share, and you can share.
Okay, awesome. So I've been uploading the QTI files, and I was happy to see that they actually generate quizzes every
And
time I
banks.
upload- I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Whenever I upload one, it generates its own quiz.
Mhm.
But that I thought was a bank, so it should be able to be a group, right?
If it also created a question bank, yes. And when you upload a QTI file, apparently it does both. It creates a bank and a quiz with the same name.
So right now these are all worth 0.1, and I really need them to be all worth 1. So I think what you're telling me is I should create a new quiz and grab that bank, grab it as a
Right.
and treat it as a
Try
quiz.
that. Indeed.
I'm trying to go to quizzes now,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it's just slow because of all the whatever. So then,
And add quiz.
yeah, I'm in assignments. So that thing. Oh, there we go. That was
No,
okay, add
that
quiz.
no, you're in the quizzes tool. This
Yeah.
is Canvas using that word assignment very loosely. I've read about that before.
I'll just say point assignment with Dave, just because.
Yeah, you can always edit that later.
Okay, and so then I go to grab my questions, and I'm going to do a new group.
Right?
And,
And link to a
I'm going to end
question
up
bank.
picking however many questions there are. 14.
Yeah,
Is that
you'll.
order?
Oh, well, you have to link to a question bank first.
Okay, this is the one I think it was. I don't know, remember which one I clicked on. I think it was 3-4 actually. And then
Okay.
create group. Oh, so then I have to increase the number of picks. Okay.
Well, apparently.
I can find out how many are in that one really quickly.
Yeah, you'll have to look at the bank to see how many are in it before you can determine how many you can select.
I can actually look from a different file. So there are 11. So I can pick 11. If I get back to that screen. So pick 11.
There you go.
Okay. Update group. Oh, perfect. So then save.
Yeah.
And then will it shuffle the order?
Yes. That's the only way you can randomize question order. Is do
Oh my gosh. You just saved me so much work because now I don't have to click on each question. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. What do I do if I'm waiting, and I have to go? I don't know. I just figured I would communicate. I've communicated in the chat room with you and then left you my email, but I didn't really know how to handle that. And so I just.
Oh, just speak up. Just speak up.
Oh,
Don't worry
okay.
about that.
I was hitting my alt space, but I hate to interrupt people. Okay, thanks. Next time I'll just speak up and then, okay. Thank you again. I'm sorry?
These Zoom meetings work so much better if people, when they have an urgent matter like that, just let me know.
Oh, okay. I
it's not a
with
problem.
other people, but I also, I found that my own ability to sit still and not get really cold or to just even focus for more than 2 hours.
Oh, I can relate to that. My wife has the same issues. Yeah.
But have a great week. I mean, yeah, thanks again for all of your help, and have a great weekend, and great job responding to the snafus. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We'll try to avoid having that happen in the future. I'm not sure if we'll be successful or not.
Yeah, I think this new culture we live in, the new climate has to have just more fluidity to it. So thank you again. Have a good day.
Take care. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Anybody have anything else? Goodbye. Any other questions? We're only 48 minutes past the nominal.
I have had issues where some students are saying that they aren't getting emails from Canvas, and so I'm finding that I'm having to send the information multiple ways. So like so I have like before this crisis, I normally communicated with students through a website called Edmodo, and that was where they would turn their work in, and that site works really well because I would have like the password and a group code, or actually a group code on the very first day of class. And so the first thing they do when I come in is, all right, everybody, let's turn to that page with the group code. This is the one time you're going to use your phone in the class. We're all going to join this right now. And but then I was seeing that there was recently some connectivity issues with Edmodo, whereas the emails that whenever I was posting something, the students weren't getting it for a couple of days, or at least a few students. So I don't know if that was a bug within the website, or that was on their end with their particular internet
Hard to
access.
tell.
Yeah, there was no way to tell. So at that point, I decided, let me go ahead and start using Canvas. And I found your Canvas workshops very helpful. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, so I set up I used the shells that were available for both my Miramar class and then also my Southwestern class, and I posted my syllabus and did a little profile for myself if they wanted to know more about me. And then what I've been trying to do is for each of those classes, every time I post something on Edmodo, whether it's from the Zoom meeting, and then I cut and paste it and then send it to Canvas, trying to cover both bases. But it still feels like people are lost in the cracks somehow, because then right after the class meeting, I'll get an email from a couple students, hey, we tried to get in the meeting and we couldn't, or, so I'm not sure what's going to be the real viable solution. I mean, I know some students are just blowing the class off, because I emailed them directly. And they just didn't respond. So at that point, when I've sent them a personal invitation, or I've asked them, they need to show up, and they haven't, then those students I'm just sort of letting go. Just because, and then they tend to be the ones who already had those behaviors before the crisis, where they were not participants in class. So I feel okay not making a repeated attempt to track them down.
Yeah, you do what you can, and you realize that not everyone is going to pass, unfortunately. And
yeah, it's just that
you
now
can't
the
make
issue is
personal choices for them.
yeah, it's just I'm anticipating then they're going to come back going, oh, I didn't get this or I didn't get that. And so I'm trying to keep the emails as a record that I did reach out to them, and that I did, I told them they need to try to come to the meetings. And so so then it can be some sort of a record that I had contacted those specific people that haven't shown up at all.
That's very wise, but that it won't all be successful. But then that's the nature of the beast too. It's no matter what modality is used to generate the course. Socrates had the same problems.
Yeah,
and look how it worked out for him.
Yeah, really.
I mean, it's the nature of our profession.
I'm curious, I was in on another Zoom meeting for Southwestern, and they kind of walked through some of the profile things, the buttons that you were showing, and then they were trying to get me a pro account, and then I got a confirmation, which I did today, and I don't know if it'll be up and running next week. But I'm wondering, is there like a problem with just using one pro account from one school and then just try to use it with the other campuses? Is there
I see no reason why that should be a problem.
Okay.
Your Confer Zoom app in Canvas will only work for one of the schools. The one.
Oh, it will. Oh, okay.
Because the EDU account that you gave Confer Zoom, is the one that will work with the Confer. But you can use your Zoom account without using the Confer Zoom app in Canvas, and I see no problem with using one account for all three institutions, because the state's paying for it all anyway. I mean, it's not like it's coming out of any individual school's budget or anything like that. So I would personally use the same account for all three. rather
Okay,
than
maybe that's
trying
what
to
I'll
remember
try.
which one was which. You know?
Yeah, yeah, I think I'll try to do that with both my Southwestern and Miramar one. So if it looks like the Southwestern one starts to work okay, then I'll just use that one and then just give them that link.
Otherwise, you have to ask yourself, well, what Zoom account am I logged into? Is this the right one?
And
I'm
yeah,
about to
and
have
then
a meeting with my students at Southwestern. Am I logged into the right account? Are they going to be there? It's better
Yeah.
just to use one. And everything that you can do with that Confer Zoom app, you can do at the Zoom website. It's just a convenience. It's also a convenience for your students that they could go into the Confer Zoom app and access your meetings, but you can make it possible for them to access your meetings simply by making that link available to them, either through an email or through an announcement in Canvas or through a link in a Canvas module that has that link embedded in it. All of those are reasonable ways to allow the students to access your Zoom meeting room outside of the Confer Zoom app. If you're not going to use the Confer Zoom app in a particular course, though, I would hide it from the students so that they're not confused by seeing it there. And do you know how to remove something from a course menu in Canvas?
No. I mean, like
let's say I didn't want my students to see this Confer Zoom link in this course.
Okay.
I would just go to Settings.
So, I mean, why would you not want them to see that?
If I'm not using Confer Zoom, let's say you're using your, I'm not using the Confer Zoom app, not as opposed to the Confer Zoom account, which is the one that you're going to be using. This is just an integration with Canvas that can be used or not used for Zoom.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is this what they would see? Is this, or is this just...
This is what they would see. You can always go to your home button in Canvas and select Student View to see what the students will see, and they're seeing this. If you don't, let's say, for instance, that you're using the Confer Zoom account that you got through Southwestern.
Yeah.
And you're using it in an SDCCD course.
Yeah.
Well, this Confer Zoom link here is not going to work for the students because it's not going to work for you or for the students because your email address from Southwestern is the one that's registered with Zoom. And this requires that account. It requires an EDU account registered in it to work. And it'd be the wrong one. If this were an SDCCD account and your Zoom account, your Confer Zoom account has your Southwestern email address in it, then this Confer Zoom app will not work in this course.
So
for your students or for you.
Is it advisable to just use the My Zoom room?
Well, that's one I put in there. Let me show you what that is in a second. But to get rid of this, if you're not using the Confer Zoom LTI integration with Canvas in a particular course, all you have to do is go to the Settings page, to the Navigation tab, and find that menu option and drag it down below this line. That hides it from the students. And save the change. Now, if a student comes in and looks, they won't see that Confer Zoom link anymore. Sorry, it's taking it a second. There we go. Now that one's missing. Now this My Zoom Room link here is one that I've put in as an alternative to the Confer Zoom link. And the way I did that was to go to settings and apps. And I've got a tutorial for this. I'll show you where to find it in a minute. But it's easier if I look just for installed apps on our system. And I've gone to, and then I went to the redirect tool, which is a way to add a link to your Canvas course menu in this particular course. Click that, add the app, and I'll call it something different this time. I rename it, instead of redirect tool, let's just call it Zoom Room. Then I put in this link, this one right here, the one that's working right now. I could just copy that to my clipboard, go back to Canvas and paste that into this URL box and select show in course navigation, at least, probably show in account navigation too, and add the app. And if I refresh the screen now, there's that link. And if you or a student click on that link, they'll drop into your personal meeting room, or in this case, my personal meeting room.
Is there a handout or like a PDF with?
There's sure.
Like,
well, there's this site.
Okay.
Which is sdccdold.org. And let me put that in the chat tool for you.
Okay.
You can
and
copy it down.
that has directions on like what the steps you just went through.
Yes. Just in a much more compact way than I did it just then. Yeah, I'll show you just a second. Let me get this in the on-demand video tutorials for SDCCD. You're welcome to use them. There, I put that in the chat tool at the bottom. Now, just go in, and this is where you will drop by default when you first enter. And the easiest way to find what you're looking for is to search for it. So search for Zoom, you'll get all the Zoom tutorials. If you want Zoom and Canvas, just put both in there. Tutorials that deal with both Zoom and Canvas. What I just showed you about putting that link in your course menu is covered in this simple Zoom integration tutorial. And it's a video tutorial. It will show you how to do it, just as I did. This is a Zoom intro that I did. It's about 2 hours of meeting, just like we did today. So this is the one we were looking for. This is the one that specifically will do that. Or if you just search for Zoom, you'll get a more general selection of Zoom tutorials. How to deal with a Zoom bomber. Put in a profile picture, joining a Zoom meeting, introduction to Zoom. There's about 4 pages of Zoom tutorials there. You can just look through. And that's all. That's available 24/7, 365. I would pay a special attention right now to dealing with Zoom bombing. We've got a couple of tutorials on that. It's very simple. We didn't happen to have anything. I've had people try to break in before, and you can shut that down within a few seconds. I keep hearing of people, oh, they put pornography up. Well, why did you let it stay there? If you were the host, you could take it down almost instantly by just sharing your own screen, or just disabling screen sharing to start with for anybody but the host, and not turning that on until you have a reason to turn it on for participants and things like that. Zoom has all the tools necessary to prevent this foolishness that's going on. It's just that we've got so many people using Zoom who have never used it before, who are unfamiliar with it, and they're vulnerable as a result. So this is this one is a complete Zoom introduction. It takes about 2 hours to go through, and there's also a set of workshop archives that covers all the recordings of all these sessions that we've done, except 1 or 2 that I forgot to record. I'll admit that up front. But here's the one from April 3rd on the last introduction to Zoom I did. So there's lots of general Canvas and more specific things and so on in there as well. So that's where our most of our tutorial resources are. Whew. Anything else?
No, that's about it. I guess I'll check out your meetings next week. I saw that there was an updated schedule. I think that was sent out today, I think.
Yeah, let's see. I think I have that right here, as a matter of fact. Here we go. This is us right now. We're gonna do a general Q&A, though I try to do that at the end of every meeting, but we're gonna have a meeting on Monday that's just that. And then a Canvas overview on Tuesday, Wednesday, enhancing Zoom meeting security. I'm going to cover everything that I did in those tutorials there. Accessibility in Canvas on the 17th. Another general Q&A on the 20th. A screencasting one on the 21st. A general screencasting on the 21st, and a more focused one on the use of the Camtasia tool on the 22nd, and so on. Yeah, Mary Kingsley just sent this out this morning, I think.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess I'll wait till Monday, because I'm curious about how people are engaging students via Zoom, like class discussions. And I'm finding that some classes, I'm finding it works really well with, or works relatively well with small groups. Like my SDSU class, they have a core group and they've shown up to each of the meetings so far. Like we've had, I guess they just came back from spring break. So the students are motivated, and that helps because they're wanting to get feedback on their artwork. And so we had a really good critique on Tuesday, and then I kind of looped them into the decision process of, meeting once a week versus twice, and which days seem to be more conducive for them. So they agreed that Tuesday was the day, and so a colleague of mine showed me how to put together a shared Google Drive that the students could put their work, and then we input it into Blackboard. And so that's worked so far. I mean, essentially it's the students that were motivated in class, and they're the ones who are participating. But I'm just anticipating that, when these less motivated students realize that their grade has been they're sabotaging their grade, then we're going to get the complaints, and we're going to get the students who don't want to be accountable for their own actions. And I mean, I'm grateful that in that particular class it's only two students that just haven't shown up at all. But they were the ones who never really participated in class. So they were the ones I sent a direct email to prior to this week's class saying, hey, we'd like you to be there and participate. But I find like I have to prioritize my time, so I can't, I don't feel like I'm going to have time to be sending them each a personal thing of show up. You know, what I am trying to do is that after each Zoom meeting, I usually put like a thank you note on Canvas or Blackboard or on Edmodo, or sometimes all three,
Right.
saying, you know, this is thanks for being part of the critique, or thanks for the discussion, and then maybe a link to something for them to watch. And so I'm also using that as a device of like, okay, if they for some reason claim that they haven't didn't get an invite, they should have received something through Blackboard of me posting it as an announcement. And so hopefully they would have been proactive of like responding. And since I haven't heard from them at all, I'm hoping that that'll cover me in terms
Well, yeah,
of
you have it
agreement.
documented in depth that you have given them every opportunity and encouragement to, but you just can't make them drink.
Yeah, because I'm in the one particular case, like in my SDSU class, I have a student that, not that I'm not forgiving, but like, I mean, like the very beginning of the semester, you know, he blew off our first assignment, which was simply bring a log line, which is a 1-sentence description of your idea. And I could see that one, he was coming in late, and then he wasn't prepared. And usually that, for me at least, that's a red flag that, okay, if he's not going to get the easiest assignment, the easiest part of this process, chances are he's not going to do well in the class. So I tend to be pretty firm with the deadline, and basically, because there's really no excuse. And so I went out of my way. Like this is a class where the students put together a comic. Like I teach them how to, most of them are art students, or at least know how to draw. And so this student and one other student didn't know how to draw. And so I went out of my way to get an art student in my colleague's class who they are also working on the same project. And then we published the book, the comics in a book online. And
cool.
So, yeah, it's a great project. We've been doing it since 2008, 2009.
Wow.
And yeah, and then the SDSU's library has been collecting them and putting them in their special collection.
Oh, sweet.
So, yeah, so it's a great project. And so I went out of my way to take his script to the other class, and a student from my colleague's class agreed to draw it as her project. And then it came to my attention 2 weeks ago that when she had questions about his script, there were legitimate questions, story questions. He basically told her, "You figure it out," and then just sort of blew her off. And so then I got a phone call, a conference call from the instructor from that class and the student, letting me know that this has happened. And so the only way I can think of resolving it is that I'm basically going to email him, and I'm going to email the student that's in the other class, have her send me the very specific questions, then send the email to him and CC them, and then basically give him a deadline of like, you need to respond to this immediately, or that the student, if she has to resolve a story question, she's going to get a co-writing credit, and her name is going to go first. And so, you know, that was the suggestion that someone else had said. SDSU has been having these like CTL coffee hour Zoom discussions where people check in and kind of brainstorm. And so I raised this particular issue, since it was an SDSU class, and to get their feedback. And then one of the moderators, she's the one who suggested, well, maybe the student in the other class should have their name first. And and I think that you know, because he just struck me in class as someone who's fairly not the most responsible individual.
Disconnected. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so this sort of like this situation, those types of students, this is like, it's giving them the perfect excuse, you know, to just kind of
Yeah.
zone out, you know.
Oh,
But I
it's
feel
because we
badly.
went online. I would have gotten an A if we hadn't gone online. So
Yeah,
you
yeah, yada, 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 that kind of thing. Yeah, and it's just ridiculous. And but you know, he hasn't been showing up at the Zoom meetings at all. And he hasn't responded to the email I sent on Edmodo, you know, asking him to attend. So I'm just trying to be
It sounds
proactive.
like you've got it well documented, though, and this is why the conjoined deities invented the grade F.
Yes.
Had to be a reason for it, right?
Yeah, you know,
So,
I failed.
or as a good friend of mine, colleague of mine, said many years ago, at the beginning of every class, someone's got to make an F. It might as well be you.
Yeah, you know, it's just that, especially with community colleges,
Yeah.
there's a tendency to trying to, like, is there something else we could do and to help that student? And frankly, you know, like some students, they're not ready to be in school, and the F might be instructional for them to like get their act together, you know. Like, in
Yeah,
fact,
and you do what you can, everything
yeah.
that you reasonably can do, but you have to accept that it won't. Oh, sorry about that.
Is that you?
You just have to let it go at some point and move on to the next one, because you're right, you can end up spending all your time on students that are not going to benefit. Penalize ones.
Oh, is that you?
Sorry
I'm
about
not
that.
sure. Oh,
Who
okay.
don't? All righty.
Yeah, I mean, I had a situation last fall, a different class. This was at Miramar, and it was a writing class. It was very small. It was a intermediate composition and critical thinking, and the chair of the English department let me do a science fiction focused class.
Oh,
And
cool.
you know, yeah, and it should have been a really fun experience. I mean, there was a handful of students that got something out of it. I mean, it was very small, but I set the ground rules really clearly about like, we're not going to have phones, we're not going to have laptops, we're going to learn I'm going to teach you everything I can to help them learn how to write and how to do research and everything, but I'm not going to talk to people that are completely distracted. If they don't know how to write and if they don't have the focus, that's a waste of my time, you know.
Or they're not willing to even try.
Yeah, exactly. If they're not willing to like be able to just be focused enough to spend the designated class time, which is, if we're going to the library and the librarian's giving us a workshop on how to find credible sources, and if you don't know how to do this, you need to give them 100% of your time. And I just feel very strongly about that, of like, not this sort of like false sense of entitlement. And
right. And in a class like that, even if you lose a significant chunk of it, of the enrollment, the people who stay get such a rich experience out of it that it's worthwhile. And they will remember that for a long time.
And in fact, the people that stuck out and stayed and were there consistently told me that they got a lot out of the experience. They, because I started doing things where I would ask them, okay, I want you to bring your first paragraph of your paper. And then I projected on the screen, on the whiteboard. And then in real time, together as a group, I would correct it, and I would get suggestions of like, okay, how do we make so-and-so's thesis stronger? Like, do we need to cut out, let's cut out unnecessary words. And I started playing with that exercise, and then I started using it in my other classes, because I found, and it was sort of something I stumbled across by accident, because I ended up projecting something, and then I noticed that it was on the whiteboard, and I thought to myself, well, I could actually edit their thing in class.
Right.
And they could see their writing on the board, and then me with a dry erase marker right above it, or like circle a word and then cross the word out in real time.
Right.
And so that became a really good strategy. And now I use it I'm going to start using that in my writing classes from now on. If it's screenwriting or like my comics class, they write a script before they draw it. And so then I found that that's been really helpful, because then as a group, they can kind of contribute and say, well, what if we took out blah, blah, blah part of the sentence? Or is this a repetition of something that was already stated? And so then they learn through being there, you know, and being focused. Yeah. So, well, thank you.
Well, good luck. Good luck with that. It's been great talking to you.
Same here. Yeah.
And I hope to see you in a meeting soon.
Yeah. And thank you for your contribution with, you know, you have a lot of patience and energy. You know, I don't think I could do this from your end of like these type of, you know, very long meetings. And are you in a different time zone as well?
No, I'm in the same time zone, but I'm
okay.
quite a few degrees of latitude north of where you all are.
Oh, okay.
I'm in northern Idaho.
Oh, okay. All righty. Well, thanks again. I'll see you next week.
Take care and have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.